This is the Bobby Ho Show. And in this episode, I'm curious about the Emmys. And I have some questions. Will When They See Us get Chernobyl? Will black creators really get the respect they deserve for their craft? And why don't they have an award for Best Music Soundtrack? From this year's Emmy nominees, I really love the final season of Veep, enjoyed Chernobyl, and I'm rooting for Schitt's Creek. But the show I could not stop thinking about by far is When They See Us, directed, co-written, and co-produced by the amazing Ava DuVernay. From the cast, the whole cast is crazy good. Eight of the actors from the series were nominated for Emmys. Personally, I really enjoyed Michael K. Williams as Bobby McRae, Antron McRae's father. Maybe it's because I'm a dad and just certain things that he did just were like a gut punch. I mean, hit me hard. Too much into words. The scene where he walks down the street after calling home, says he's working late, but just puts his hand in his pocket and head down. Gut punch, gut punch, gut punch. He was Sidney Poitier, a raisin in the sun good. So rooting for Michael K. Williams. I believe he's up in the same category against John Leguizamo. So unfortunately, both of them can't win, but they're both winners. Congrats for getting nominated, and for all the other actors, just stupid good. So not just the cast, but to the impact the series had. Not sure if this counts in the Emmy voting, but it's worth talking about because When They See Us actually changed the entire narrative, the entire story, the entire framing of the way that for 30 years our country has named these men. From the lie of the Central Park Five, a nameless, rootless grouping, the bearers of inner city fears, to Yusef, Kevin, Antron, Corey, and Raymond. Sons, children, men who survived, persevered, thrived, are living their lives. They went through the criminal justice system, and now they're making an impact, the exonerated five. Completely changed the narrative about how we think of them and hopefully how we think of other people going through the criminal justice system and other ways that the government can use imprisonment, internment, and unjustly just shut down part of its citizenry. So the cast, the impact, the writing, the set design, the cinematography, the music, the soundtrack, and the Chris Bauer score. I mean, the music. Why isn't there just like a Best Music Emmy? Just like the best music. The music in Scandal deserved an award. In Insecure, deserves an award. That moment in Atlanta, the Delphonics Hey Love moment when the alligator comes out, deserves an award. Okay, so back to When They See Us. I would like to rewatch it just to enjoy all the richness of the detail again, except it is hard to watch because this is a true story. And what these families and young men went through, what you see happening is just not easy to watch because you know how much they were impacted, and you know it's not just them. Joy Press, a journalist for Vanity Fair, describes both When They See Us and the HBO series Chernobyl as, quote, must-endure TV, or what she calls it's just grimly compelling viewing as a part of a whole new genre of limited series. So both these shows, When They See Us and Chernobyl, are up for each other for several awards at the Emmys in the limited series category. From what I've read and understand, both showrunners, Ava DuVernay and Craig Mazin, have tons of respect and appreciation for each other and their shows. So I don't mean to pit them personally or the shows against each other. I think they're rooting for each other. They're things both shows have in common. They both deal with when the manipulation of truth becomes reality. They're interestingly set, not too far apart, although in different places in the world and very, very different storylines. Both deserving to win. But I am rooting for When They See Us. I just think that Chernobyl was able to fictionalize more, whereas When They See Us was rooted much closer to the actual characters, took us on these just psychological journeys that they were going through multiple characters, while also taking us through the craziness of the criminal justice system. So I think When They See Us had more total craftsmanship than Chernobyl. I'm rooting for it to win all the awards. But when the winners are announced, I am wondering if When They See Us will get Chernobyl. I'm thinking about what David Simon said about the Emmys in Hollywood. He wrote this in the context of Condi Alexander getting passed over for her work in The Corner, and of the HBO series The Wire getting passed over multiple times for any sort of Emmy nomination. He said, unquote, "You make a show about the inner city of Baltimore and anywhere else, and you put the camera on it, and these suckers in Hollywood think you're turning the camera on and it's just some sort of weird documentary. It was like there was no sense that we were working to create that America that you left behind is deserving of as much attention and craft like that as the other America." So, speaking of craft, creators dedicated to the art and science, to the years of work and study, the blood, sweat, and tears that they put in, I hope that the black artists across every show nominated this year get respect for their craft. There's always the focus on fashion and the celebrity and who's going to win. And sometimes the nominees, especially the black nominees, get asked more about, say, diversity questions or other things, and they don't really get the respect or the questions, the story on their artistic dedication on their craft. I know from what I've read, it's important to these artists. I've heard Ava DuVernay talk about craft a lot in interviews. Don Cheadle, who's nominated, talks about it. Viola Davis, Niecy Nash, the list goes on. I sure, you talk to any of them, they wish they could talk a little bit more about all that they do to put in to make these wonderful characters. And thinking about some of the writing about the difference between Chernobyl and When They See Us, I've read multiple profiles of all the work that went in to make Chernobyl authentic, and people who lived through the era said, I thought I was in, my mother's house, and it's amazing the amount of detail to the physical objects, to the costuming, how they transported you to that area, that era. But when it came to the writing about When They See Us, most of the writing was, even if they thought it was a good show, definitely on the acting, on the performances, on Ava DuVernay, and on the storyline, and on, what happened to these young men, but not a lot of writing about the craft. And I hadn't even thought about it until I recently saw a video that was done, I believe, at Netflix Studios, where Ava DuVernay herself had all of the different people who worked on the show from the technical side on stage, and just did like almost a whole hour where she's talking to the set designers about how they recreated the interiors of the different families' apartments, and the costuming, and the music, and Chris Bowers, and how they all worked together, and what an emotional journey it was, but how they were just so dedicated to getting every little detail right. And then I thought, I have not read a single piece about all these different details and all this different craft that went in to making When They See Us. So, I'm wondering whether David Simon is right, that people just assume, it wasn't that hard for them to recreate Harlem in 1989. They're just not getting the same respect, I think, so far, at least from some of the writing, as Chernobyl. But we'll see. Hopefully in the interviews and the profiles, the day after, whoever wins, we get to hear about their craft. And maybe When They See Us, we'll get all kinds of respect for the work and win all kinds of awards. But earlier this week in the Creative Arts Emmys, Beyonce and Homecoming, which was nominated for 6 Emmys, took home 0. And as one fan, Aaliyah, I believe her Twitter handle is @IvyLegion, put it, I'm going to read this in full. She wrote, quote, "Beyonce spent 8 hours every single day for 8 months right after nearly dying giving birth to twins, rehearsing, breastfed in between breaks, spent hours analyzing costumes and set list, training 100 dancers, put her heart and soul on stage in a desert to lose to a carpool show. So, I don't know. Maybe when they see us wins, maybe it loses. Either way, the fight for truth goes on. I know Ava DuVernay is still highlighting the shortcomings of our justice system through her platform. Even this week, I heard her, bringing awareness to something that went on a part of the country that needed spotlight. I've heard the actors in the show say, obviously the fact that the exonerated five have their story told and are humanized, and even the families have been brought to light. That's a win. When it comes to Chernobyl, citizens across the globe are fighting their governments for truth and transparency. I've read things on message boards where they're just happy Chernobyl was made. It's giving them the inspiration they need to fight on. So wins all around, and still things that need to be addressed, and the band plays on. I'm Bobby Ho. That's my show for this week. There's lots more that I have to share about, artists working on their craft, different people that inspire me. Definitely check out, if you haven't, there's a PBS documentary about Raul Julia. Amazing. It's available online and on streaming platforms. Check that out. One of the best sources that I've read about craft is the comedian Roy Wood Jr., tweets a lot about craft and his different thoughts of it, and thinking about comedy from all these different angles. Check out his Twitter. I have, a couple other different places. I'll post that video that I saw of Ava DuVernay talking with her cast. Check it out at bobbyhoshow.com, and let me know what inspires you, what inspires your craft. Thank you for listening. Again, I'm Bobby Ho, and that's my show. An outro arrangement by Ivy Sparrow Music.